It's time for the Coors Side Seats. We welcome in TSN Hockey Insider Bob McKenzie and TSN Hockey Analyst Ray Ferraro. We've never had 4 seats here, guys.
Yeah.
This is a first.
What do you think, fellas?
I like what you've done with the place.
Yeah. You guys aren't
So
normally...
no, someone told me you guys used to work here.
Yeah, we did at one time, and then we were deported, and then we were deported by that country, and now we're back in this country. It's pretty good for us.
It's really
good for us.
positive
But
for
when's
our
the show
country.
on?
When is the show on?
Midnight Eastern.
We didn't get a lot of promotion over the summer.
Hey, guys, you want to talk puck?
Sure.
Okay.
Wait a second. Coors Light sponsors this?
Yes.
Or Coors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coors. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
See, because in this area, I don't know if you know this or not, but there used to be Michael Landsberg's Off the Record.
Yes.
That's right,
And,
there.
and in the
studio.
halcyon days of that, when you came and sat with Michael, you get a little something for coming. Keg gift certificate.
Okay, gift certificate. Yeah,
So Coors.
Maybe.
Problem is, you'll get cans of Coors Light with us on them.
Yeah, you don't want that, Bob.
It's okay.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
You might think twice about that if you get them to your palatial estate.
The
if you
cans
want
can
that.
come, but you can't.
That's right.
Okay,
Never invited to the cottage.
You've never been invited there? It's really nice.
Yeah, I know. I every time he sends out a text, I'll be at the. I'm like, just the address.
You're
That's all I need.
where you live now, you're getting closer and closer all the time. It's going to be harder and harder.
Is it almost
He's
like
right there.
Is it almost like Dan stalking you? Like if he lives close enough
Yeah.
to you, you'll be obligated to
We'll
eventually
get
invite
a
him.
restraining order
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
How about Eichel? Would he be invited to the cottage?
Yes, definitely. He's bringing the wheelbarrow full of money.
8-year contract, $10 million per year. That's a lot of money.
You want to go on that first?
Well, I mean, there's something of a Connor McDavid effect. Let's not kid ourselves. McDavid got 8 years, $12.5 million, and nobody's going to say that they're as good as Connor McDavid. But a lot of guys are going to say, I'm not as good as him, but I'm close. And so you end up with, we're seeing some more landmark for franchise players not named Connor McDavid. You know, a while ago it was just Kane and Taves were the only guys making over $10 million in the league. Now Eichel is, and but he's a franchise player, and the Sabres are banking that he's going to have a franchise year, and he's going to be underpaid in a few years.
It's really kind of crazy, though, because when McDavid signed and then Draisaitl signed, there were people that thought Peter Chiarelli overpaid for Draisaitl.
Right.
And now, I don't know, what is it, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later,
Kind of looks like a good deal now.
it looks like a good deal because Eichel leapfrogs him. What about Mark Scheifele? He was one of the game's best
man.
players. He signs a long deal last year in Winnipeg, and Eichel has just raced past him. I think Eichel will be a top 10 scorer this year. He's a tremendous player.
In the defense of Kevin Cheveldayoff, that money will go a lot farther in Winnipeg. That'll go a lot farther in Winnipeg. That cash.
The
Scheifele money.
The Scheifele money?
Yeah.
Well, is Buffalo an expensive place?
No, that's true. It's not.
10 million.
I'm not going to live there.
I wasn't good at math, but 10 million is more than 6 million.
No, it's fair. It's fair. Who's next then? Who's next to make these kinds of deals?
Well, you've got the two big ones coming up in the offseason, and that would be Matthews and Line are eligible. Mitch Marner for the Leafs is eligible in the summer as well. William Nylander's eligible for an extension right now. And I was talking to the guys on Overdrive today, and I'm fascinated to see how the Leafs go about things, because I don't think there's any question that Austin Matthews will get the 8-year fill-in-the-blank number. And they may do the similar thing with Nylander and Marner, but maybe, and I don't know this because Lou's not sharing his plans with me, surprise. Did they bridge deal them? Do they possibly go 2 or 3 years to try and lower the amount of money being spent on the cap in the very short term so that they can build more around them when their window's wide open? So that'll be fascinating to see.
Isn't this what caused a disaster in the league before, when owners were like, what are we doing here? It's gotten out of control.
Well, that became the first salary cap,
Yeah.
the first lockout.
Yes.
That I was still playing for, or playing during, and that was going to fix it. And then there was the next one, and then there was a few more restraints on the system, and that was going to help fix it. The deal with the cap, of course, is that's it. You want
a moot point now.
Yeah.
You want to pay $25 million to 3 players? Well,
Yeah.
then you got $50 million to play the rest of your team.
All right, let's.
And if the owners overspend, players have to give them money back, escrow.
Yeah. So let's go back to, you mentioned Edmonton. We talked about Toronto. We touched on Winnipeg. And Bob, you made a point on the previous show that people should be thinking about Winnipeg, and those expectations that people have for Toronto should be placed on Winnipeg as well. Similar team, similar setup. Edmonton obviously has huge expectations. Out of those three teams, for you guys, who has the most potential to end that long Canadian Cup drought at this moment?
I picked Toronto, and the reason I did was I think they have less question in their top 9 forwards. They're as rock solid as you possibly can be. Edmonton is moving some people around. You know, their first-round pick, Kyler Yamamoto, made the team. They don't really know what he is yet. He's just an 18-year-old kid. Well, the Leafs have Mitch Marner. They know what he is. Those are their 2 small guys, for example. I look at Toronto, and I can't poke a lot of holes in their lineup. I can't for Edmonton either, but I think Toronto's organizational depth gives them a little bit of a bump.
You got to make the playoffs first. And everybody's talking Stanley Cups for Edmonton and Toronto. And, I mean, the Leafs had no injuries last year. You know, we were talking about Eichel earlier. Buffalo Sabres, and I'm not suggesting the Buffalo Sabres are as far down the road with their development as the Toronto Maple Leafs are. But Jack Eichel missed 20 games last year with a high ankle sprain. Now, Austin Matthews played all season. What if Austin Matthews missed 20 games last year? The Leafs, who barely scraped into the playoffs on the last day of the regular season, last weekend of the regular season, if Austin Matthews missed as much time as Eichel, where would the Leafs be, and where would your expectation for the Cup be if that were the case? So I'm not wishing harm on Austin Matthews. I'm just saying it's so easy to say this team's trending, and rightfully so, because of the talent packages that Edmonton and Toronto have. But they got to make the playoffs first.
The similarities, Toronto and Edmonton, are remarkable. I mean, the top 11 scorers in Edmonton missed 11 games. Like they're ridiculously healthy. Now Edmonton's got to play the first half of the year without Andre Sekera.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to figure that out. It's really Winnipeg, though. I think there's been so much talk over the last few years, Bob, about their potential, their young guys, how good they are.
And is goaltending maybe a question?
Well, they hope that Mason addresses the goaltending. They've had a huge discipline problem every year, too many penalties.
Right.
They got to get that squared away. They were decimated with injuries last year, decimated. So they hope to stay healthier. So if all those 3 things were to round into form, but again, you know, their division. Chicago, Minnesota, Nashville, Dallas is going to be better. That's the hardest division in hockey. And to the Toronto-Edmonton comparison, keep in mind, Edmonton lost in the second round. Toronto lost in the first round. And it's not unprecedented that a team could go from losing in the first round to being in the Cup, because we've seen it before, but not often.
Let's stay with the Canadian team theme. What the heck's going on in Calgary? It's a PR disaster, the way that they're handling this arena situation.
It would be hard for it to go much worse.
Yes, true.
I mean, you know, they're trying to state their case. The mayor, who is extremely popular, has stated the city's position, and they don't sound like there's a bridge there. But there is a bridge there. And of course there is. There is.
Do you see them moving?
No. I don't.
It's a negotiation.
Yeah, but at least the Flames should say, like, you know what, we'll work out a deal, instead of saying, yep, here you go.
Listen, when we've had lockouts in the past, everybody says National Hockey League's in trouble. You get this acrimonious negotiation that's going back and forth, and lockouts where the game's shut down. Everybody says the game's not going to be able to recover from this. Yeah. And every time they've had a lockout, it comes back, roaring back, even stronger. So the Calgary Flames will exert whatever leverage points they can. The city of Calgary will exert whatever leverage points they can. My guess is at some point they probably figure something out, and everybody probably returns to neutral corners and lives happily ever after.
They shouldn't become doctors, because they just say, "Yo, you're dead, you're dying, you're a goner."
Well, I'm sure for Calgary, they look at what's happened in Edmonton, not just with the arena, but everything around it.
Yeah.
And it's it's basically taken a huge chunk of that city.
And that was a
turned
tough
it on
negotiation
Seattle.
too, right? There was a lot of time.
Remember, they
there
were
when-
walking around Seattle.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a business expert, but I think I recall seeing something saying that all the rinks in Canada that currently exist were all privately funded for their construction, with the exception of Edmonton. And it's ironic that Alberta, which was always, the free market entrepreneurial
It's
province.
an NDP province.
I know.
It's crazy. I
funny
never
how
would
that
have
goes.
thought it.
And yet, some people in Edmonton tell me the different dynamic in Edmonton than Calgary is that the city of Edmonton recognized the arena was the ticket to a major redevelopment of the core in Edmonton. And some people would suggest that Calgary doesn't need that as badly as Edmonton does, that they've got a different type of downtown, and so we'll see where it goes. Negotiation.
We're going to lighten things up a little bit. Bob, you're so great on social media throughout the summer. You enjoy your cottage so much. It's a cottage Dan will never be invited to, but we wanted to share some of your fine cultural picks with the viewers, your fine cultural selections. And one thing I noticed on this full screen, on the right there's a margarita machine. And you're known, and I know your son has sent several Instagrams about it, you're known for your margarita machine. It's a popular part of your cottage. How did you get into the margarita machine? And do you have a machine that you would recommend to our viewers?
Well, the Margaritaville machine, it's very lime green, it's very good. And how I got it was, I was working in the playoffs a couple of years ago and in studio every night, basically the whole playoffs. So after we'd done our early Sports Center hits, I was bored and I wanted to get out of the studio for a little bit before the game started. So I ran over to Best Buy and I wanted to spend some money. I didn't know what I was going to buy, but I was going to buy something just because I felt the need to buy something. And I saw this in a margarita machine, and I said, "Oh my God, look at that thing! It's beautiful.
It's like a beacon of light shining
It's
upon it.
unbelievable, and it's an engineering marvel." But anyways, I took it home. And my lovely wife Cindy said, "We don't need a margarita machine. You're taking that back." I said, "Oh no, I'm not. I'm taking a stand on this one." And now I got to tell you, no one uses the margarita machine more than Cindy. And in fact, I undersold it because there's a bigger model. It's more industrial strength, and I got to get that one.
Yeah. So if anyone has Bob on their Christmas list,
Yeah, you should
The
be
industrial
endorsing that.
model.
Well, you just did, so
I did.
I guess they got free advertising.
Yeah, absolutely.
do you have a margarita machine, Ray?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm homeless.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
true. You actually are. You actually are.
It's
You know
good
what's
to-
amazing? Do you understand the marvel of engineering? So what happens is the ice shaves on the top, and it comes down into the bucket
Right.
where you've left the margarita mix. So it shaves the ice, and it drops down. And then when it's finished shaving, then it, from the bottom, blends. And then it stops blending, and you think it's ready, and it's not, and it starts up again. So it's...
Wow. I don't even
They have
love
some-
my kids that
Man.
much.
They have some fun at the McKenzie household.
Oh,
don't
man,
they?
it's gotta
Let's all
get
gather
wild.
around and watch
It
the
is-
margarita get spun.
It has got to get
Tell me
wild.
how it works again, Dad. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
This is fun, guys. Will you come by again?
No.
Okay.
March.
I figured.
Good to have you not on FaceTime. Still to come on the eve of the NHL returning, we're counting down the top plays from last season in the SportsCenter Top 10.